Welcome to the third and final segment of NTV Exclusive on the US presidential elections. Yes, that's even got me choking, I have to say. I've spent the first two segments talking about Hillary, talking about Trump, talking about how the elections work, talking about the various terms that they use, the primaries, the caucus, the swing state. You know, some of you might be thinking of funny jokes behind that, but all of these are genuine terms. And then we went into the history of how these two candidates got themselves to where they are, what policies they played, how they played towards getting there, and what barriers they had. We're in the final segment, so we need to look at now what they are planning to deliver for if they become presidents. What are their policies? What does the future hold for the US? What does the future hold for the Western world? What does the future hold for the entire world? What does the future hold for Muslims, ethnic minorities? Or everything that, sorry Mr. Trump, but you seem to have a negative thought towards. So we are in the home run. Let's go for this one. I've still got my guest with me, Brother Adnan, who's a political blogger, quite reputable in amongst the Bangladeshi community, that's for sure, with his political blogging. So Adnan bhai, we didn't do justice in the first two segments of the topics we had, but that's the nature of these shows. We just got to squeeze in as much as we can. So let's move on now. So Trump, Hillary, they've laid out the policies, and if I may ask you to go through them, but before you do, my question is probably for you to comment on this. Is this not the first time that policies are so far stretched apart and on so different ends of the balancing scale?
No, definitely. If you look into Donald Trump's policy and if you look into Hillary Clinton's policy, it is actually North Pole and South Pole. Hillary Clinton, if you look into economic policy, Hillary Clinton wants to look after the middle class, then people, people those who have lower income, middle class people, because she thinks that once the middle class does well, then America does well. But Donald Trump, what he said, according to him, everything in America is horrible, everything is bad, and he will fix everything. And he keeps talking about TPP and NAFTA.
TPP is?
TPP is the transatlantic deal America got with few other countries.
And the NAFTA?
The NAFTA is the three-nation North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement, and that is between Canada, Mexico and United States, and that was signed back 1993, 1994 during that time. So he is actually, what he is saying that because of this deal, because of this, he is saying because of all those bad deal that America got with rest of the world, all those jobs from America is going to other countries. And one of the way to fix it is actually to give a tax break to the rich people, so that they invest money in the country rather investing money in other countries.
And he seriously believes that, doesn't he?
He seriously believes that.
And do you?
No, not at all. I mean, if you
does anybody?
No, does anybody? I mean, if you look into fact checker, there is something called fact checker in America, which is an independent organization. If you look into advice of most of the independent economic advisor, they will disagree with terms, economic policy, and they think this will what this will do, this will make some sort of income, the income inequality that America got at this moment, it will be much more bigger, which will then fuel the racial division, which will then fuel the division between rich and the poor. So
put it in desperation,
exactly,
and comfort.
Absolutely,
it's not bridging any closer. Because you're throwing your poor into turmoil, putting them into absolute anarchy, and the rich are being tucked away in honeymoon life.
Absolutely. So he wants to give a tax break to the rich people so that they invest in America, because according to him, because of all those bad deals that he is planning to fix by himself when he becomes president, is taking jobs of American to other countries like Mexico, China. Those are the two countries that he has quoted. But if you look into Hillary Clinton's economic policy, what she wants to do, she wants to increase the tax for the rich people, because she believes that the rich should, they should give back to community, so that other people can also enjoy the benefit or the privilege of education, decent hospital, roads, transport, and all other basic things in day-to-day life. So there is definitely a far difference in their economic policy. If you look into their foreign policy, is again is North Pole and South Pole. When British were ruling America, it was a different scenario. But the transatlantic relationship, the special relationship between UK and USA, is one of the most cherished relationship in anywhere in the foreign world. In diplomacy, they call it special relationship, and the relationship America got with its key allies, as for example Germany, France, the Baltic areas, in Asia, in Africa, in North America, in Canada. He thinks America is protecting so many countries. Those who has those countries, according to him, they don't have enough enough resource to protect themselves, and he thinks they should pay to America for that. As for example, very recently I was watching one documentary that America got one of the biggest military base in Japan, which is partly financed by Japanese government. After what happened after Second World War, all those treaty, because of all those arrangements, this is how it runs. But he wants to get rid of that military base, because he thinks that is actually funded by American government, which is not actually true. So if this is his this is one of his foreign policy. So that means those, if you look back to history, all those key allies America got during Second World War, after Second World War, during Cold War, and during Iraq War, during Afghanistan War, what's been happening in Middle East, allies like UK, although he said that he will give special advantage to UK because his mother is from Scotland. Those long-standing tie, those long, strong bondage, people think will be diminished if he becomes president. And then what people also speculate, that this will probably give some sort of advantage to Putin, some sort of advantage to Putin's nationalistic diplomacy, the sort of aggression he wants to do in Baltic Sea, his Middle East policy. His Middle East policy and Americans' Middle East policy is different. But if he wants to break up with all his allies, this will give some advantage without any doubt, irrespective of you support Republican or Democrat, whether you support Labour Party or Conservative Party. It is a very common sense. If the West is divided, this will give additional advantage to Putin. And if you look into Putin, he's a nationalistic. And he is successful. He, in terms of many things, he is successful within Russia. But if you look into Russians' human rights record, standard of life, is not very thrilling. Is not very, is not great at all. So Russia got its own problem, and many of the problems, if you compare Russians' standard, academy, their infrastructure, many times you will be very frustrated that it is not 21st century standard.
Yes.
Russia got its own problem.
Yeah.
So his foreign policy will somehow give Russia some sort of comfort, particularly having Putin, a nationalistic leader in Russia.
Let's take this out of the Pacific and now look at exactly that, not foreign policy now, migration policy.
Oh yes, and then just to touch a little bit, because it will be unfair on Hillary. Hillary wants to keep those ties. Hillary wants to keep. Hillary thinks you would be able to solve the problem if you work together with all of your allies. If you look into immigration And by coincidence, I was looking into Donald Trump's website, official website, and his immigration policy. His #1 immigration policy is to build some imaginary wall in southern border of America, which is impossible. Anyone living in 21st century will say this is impossible, and it is one of the single and he said that he wants to start the process from day one, and he has his people, those who maintain his website, they have written in bold red letter, Mexico will pay for it. This wall is impossible. If you look into the way their politics work, the way a wall can be made, and the cost. If you look into cost, if you look into policy, politics, and the way the local government, federal government works in America, is impossible. So he won't be able to do that. And one of the reasons he wants to make this wall is because he said the Mexican, they are coming, the illegal immigrant from Mexico, they are coming and pouring into America. But if you look into statistics, when Bush government introduced a tougher border control, it is the time when actually the illegal immigration increased. And I tell you why. It works very interestingly in America and Mexico. Most of those illegal immigrants, what happened? They used to get a visa, they used to come, and then used to work, and they used to use the southern border to go back to their country. Now, because they are blocked, they cannot go back.
No, so they're not leaving,
exactly.
And they're stuck in there.
Exactly, they're stuck in there. So he said he wants to ban entire religion. He wants to go back to time of Hitler's, where people are wearing special badge because of exactly. Yeah. But if you look into Hillary's policy, Hillary said she wants to make the way easier for all those undocumented immigrants, so that they can be part of America.
Track and
exactly,
and give
they
green
can be
card.
part of America.
We've got to shift on to the future now.
Yeah.
Because since we're still talking about Donald Trump there, give me 1 minute on each. If Donald Trump wins, what can you foresee is the future?
Well, I think it's a dark time, to be very honest with you, not being very biased towards Hillary Clinton. Of course, she has controversy, but on top of it, we also need to remember that Clinton family, they were under public and media scrutiny for so many years now.
Yeah.
But this will be a dark time, not only for America.
So Trump winning is a dark time.
Is a dark time, not only for America, but for entire world, because of his foreign policy, because of his immigration policy, because the way he wants to treat the immigrants, the way he wants to treat the Muslims, the way he wants to break up with all his allies. Rather, he wants to have his own bloc, and according to him, everything happening America is horrible, and he will fix it. And what I am suspecting, the moment in say for example in worst case scenario, I can be political and I can make my own judgment. In worst case scenario, if this man becomes US president, and if he fails to implement his wall, banning Muslim, banning immigrants, giving tax break, his supporters will be frustrated. So it's a dark time for America.
His supporters are going to go mad when it doesn't happen. It's impossible. We have about 30 seconds. Sum up for me. If Hillary becomes president.
Well, if Hillary becomes president, of course she's a status quo candidate. But I think she will continue the legacy that President Obama did. President Obama did so many good things about America, and he also portrayed the good image of America outside of the world. So I think Hillary Clinton will continue the legacy, and she will do good things. I think this will be
just a final thing now. We've got to completely close off because we're completely out of time. But yes, a little bit of humour I want to throw in. Hillary Clinton becomes the president. Are we allowed to call Bill Clinton First Lady?
Well, no. We have to call him First Dude.
First Dude. I'm out of time. I cannot thank you enough, and I'm sure the viewers of NTV cannot thank you enough for giving us this insight. For those of you that didn't know, for those of you that did know, I'm sure you can add to that, throw in your own mix, do your own part to it. But there's only 4 sleeps left until the US elections, and then we will know who is the president of the United States. It's been all over the world. It's been theatrical. It's been it's been doing my head in. I'm sure it's done everybody else's. Let's hurry up and get this done. We in the UK have no doubt enjoyed the entertainment from the United States. Let's see what hope that brings for the country. This is all I have time for on a Friday night NTV exclusive. I hope you've enjoyed and learned something from the US elections. Until next time, I will see you soon. Trump won't like this. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.